Okay, so last we had added, we were working on add edit. So we were working on how to edit a particular record in a IndexedDB. So we were successful in retrieving a specific record. I think I cleared the database. Let me see. I think I cleared it. So I'll start with fresh because couple of records we added. I think it should overlap. So just renamed my database name. So it is a fresh one. So we don't have any records now. We have a problem here. I think as soon as I add, I do not see the item which is populated here. Instead, I need to press on this, even though I have written the code. As soon as a new entry is added, I made sure that it calls the get all names, which is responsible for retrieving all the contents, but it doesn't work. Slightly delayed, I could say. It's not something, it's not working because I did some debugging test. It slightly works slow. If you notice, if I add the second content, I'll add one more time, new one. The previous content comes, so slightly one content maybe it's getting delayed uh, because the asynchronous nature of the index DB. As soon as I get the particular content or particular record got added successfully, immediately I tried to call another transaction. I'm trying to do another transaction, so it did not. Maybe it slightly delayed after the DOM which got populated. To avoid that, I have one simple fix. In fact, I think we have used a similar strategy somewhere in jQuery mobile also. If you do not get a function which looks like the objects are created little delay, so you can put a timeout function, set timeout. This function can execute a function with a little delay. For example, this function, I'm just adding one function inside. This function could be called 1000 millisecond is 1 second. So anything I write inside set timeout will be called after 1 second delay. So I'm trying to give you a delay so that any objects created a little later would get sufficient time so that the data could be populated immediately. 1 second is not a high time; it's pretty less only. So let me see in that case. If you notice, the last result is also right now showing. Maybe 1 second is too high. I can reduce it further. You just need a small delay. So 100 milliseconds, just a fraction of a second. It's not even a full second. So things are appearing immediately. So it needed a little delay. So I added as a timeout function so that I'm calling a little later after the last record inserted successfully. So if you do not get some result as we expected, maybe we can add a small timeout. So after that it works. Okay, so we just fixed the add name. I think we were working on edit. So as I click, I get the particular record alone. So I need to have a edit option added to this particular example. To make that, I probably do some sort of little adjustment. I'm going to add a input text field so that the content could be edited on the same line itself. So when you use a double quotation, you escape text. Let me see how it looks like. So I wrapped everything inside the edit text itself so that I can directly edit here. I'll have to give option to subject as well. Remember, if you use a single quotation, it would have been much easier. You don't need to escape them. But I won't have this example covered with a double quotation as well, so that we will come to know about how to escape particular quotation. So both are covered. So if I change here and when I click edit, the change should become permanent, and if I refresh or do something, I should have a up-to-date, updated value only. So let's see how we can do that. I need to have little hooks here because I'm going to need an ID also for each field. Okay, so ID I should give dynamically. This is for name. I'm just prefixing NM because there will be name field and subject field. Each should have a unique ID, and prefixing with the primary key value. Similarly, I'm going to add for this as well. This gives. Typically, we won't see any changes in the UI, but we will have a change in the code. So I'm just expanding inspect element, trying to see how things have been laid out. So the first input text field is having an ID called nm1, whereas the same subject is sub1. The second row is having nm2 and sub2. So I can easily retrieve them if I know the index value. Okay. Just want to verify everything looks perfect. Yes. So when the user click on edit, we know the ID. Get access to the edited object. I will come back to it a little later. First I will get name, the particular DOM ID. I'm dynamically creating the ID because the primary key ID and prefixing nm will give me the name value of a particular row. So similarly, I need to get subject. Now I need to create the edited object. I just need to recreate the edited object. I think usual object will be looking like this one. Accordingly, at the end, I also want to add, because I'm going to edit one particular record, the item ID also I need to prefix. Item ID nothing but the one I'm receiving. So this particular object, the edited one, and finally I need to persist it. Instead of get, I can use put and give the edited object. So the object which is going to get edited will have a new name, new subject, but the ID wouldn't have been modified, so the particular record alone would get modified. And I'll get back the edited object result also. Let's see if that works. The put either will update, sometimes can also insert if a particular ID is not there. So it will do the dual job, but still be perfect for editing. So I'm just going to edit this particular record. The second record got edited. If I refresh, I will have a edited value only, so the changes is permanent. So probably if I can put an alert successfully edited, something like that. So I think math is not changing. Changing. So whatever changes I'm going to do, it's going to be permanent. It's going to get the second record is getting modified. So things are getting changed. Maybe we can refresh the data. I'll copy the same thing. So entire table will be recreated. It will give us a look and feel as if something getting refreshed. We don't need to do that, but we can still do that to get a feel as if it is getting modified. Just refreshed. So changes are permanent. So we have made the edit into working as of now. Maybe we can still do some more thing. Delete, we need to make it work. So when delete is done, I think we are absolutely done with the entire CRUD operation. So the put, if item ID is already existing, it will edit. If item ID does not exist, it will create new entry. So it will do the both the job. Item ID it is there already, so it is right now working as an edit. But if you enter something a non-existing item ID, that particular entry will be added as a new. So just make sure you have the item ID placed here so that it will work as an edit. The final one is for delete. Before that, I want to, as I refresh, I want to show the data. So what I can do after the database is created, Same thing. We'll add the little delay because we are expecting some sort of delay is required. Maybe a bug also, because over the point of time we can still remove the timeout. So the data, as I refresh, the data will be available, and when I add a new entry, data will be added immediately. So I can edit the entry already, so now I need to make delete into working. So that's, it's also going to need an argument as an ID. So delete name. So I'm going to create item ID. It's going to be needed. So assuming the data will have a primary key, when a user try to hit delete button, we'll also get a primary key value. So need to go ahead as usual. So get an object of transaction. It is recommended to have a transaction whenever the methods are called, rather than having the connection always open. That's the reason I did not create transaction and object store as a global objects. When you need to do a transaction, I'll do the transaction, do something changes with object store, and just quit. So that will help us to retain some sort of performance. Otherwise, those data will be permanently connected to database, may get a timeout errors. So transaction db transaction. If you have more than one value, you can give in square bracket. Otherwise, you can directly give that also. But I prefer square bracket. Delete surely going to require read and write permission. And object store. Okay. As usual, request to delete. Since I'm going to delete, I don't need to get access to the existing data. So just give an ID to delete. If you want, you can have a callback method. Of course, we need a callback to refresh our table. If data is successfully deleted, probably we check what kind of object I'm going to get. Anyway, data is not going to exist, so time to refresh values. So when I delete an item, a particular record gets deleted. Changes are permanent. Remember, see, if you notice, I don't need to worry about re-indexing the IDs, because in database, once the ID is allocated to a record, even after it gets deleted, the another entry won't get the same ID. So always the record instance is going to be unique. So I don't need to worry about re-indexing or doing anything. So let me add one more item. So sorry, you see, I'm getting a new ID every time, even though a couple of items got deleted. But every entry in IndexedDB, or typically in any DB, if a particular primary key assigned to a auto increment unique one, so naturally you will always have a unique ID automatically granted to it. So I don't need to manually do assign the particular ID or do re-indexing. I don't need to do anything. I can simply get the data and simply directly edit it, directly delete them. Won't have any problem. So I can safely delete others, modify, things will work out of the box, and if I refresh, things always there. So we somehow made it to work. So IndexedDB right now, insert the data, update the data, delete the data, of course retrieve all the data. So the basic CRUD operation is done. Maybe a little beautify it to look better. Maybe a old recap. Let's give some sort of width. We don't want to give width. Border. Inner padding will give some 5px. See how it looks like. Something border collapse, I remember, which will merge the borders. Perfect. Heading alone will give some different color. Background. Okay, it works. This also will slightly reorganize, having some spacing issues. Strange. Need to make it as a box. It's too big now. Okay. Button also will make it slightly bigger. Just to recap, we remember our CSS stuff. Okay, guess look and feel. So the previous one pretty amateuristic. Now we slightly made something look better. Let me add one more record. So things are getting added. Of course, I can delete. I can edit. And refresh. Things are permanent. So we made IndexedDB into work, and of course I'm running it in a file system. I'll show you how things work if I run in localhost. It typically did not work. Morning I had a hard time to find that particular bug. See, this is I'm running through localhost 8383 IndexedDB. It works. Strange. I have no idea. Morning it did not work. And I would like to test in other browser also, because we have to make sure it works in other browser. I'm going to run the example in Safari. It works. Let me refresh. It's there. And I would like to test in Firefox. So it works. So IndexedDB typically works in almost all the browsers with the current definition updated. And if I run the web SQL, the Chrome may have run, but Firefox wouldn't have run, Safari wouldn't have run. So to make a perfect hybrid app, so we have to depend on IndexedDB, where I need to have an indexing system automatically assigned ID for the records, and if I have a larger number of data to be stored. So for these two purposes, IndexedDB is recommended. So I'll upload this as a single uh, kind of exercise. So later we'll work on migrate the previous example, that student record with IndexedDB one. Probably it is going to take a time. So, but first you guys make sure you complete this part. If you have anything pending, please finish that and come back, come to this and have this particular part done. Understanding is very important. But in practical, your usage of IndexedDB I've seen very less, but it is good to know. I'll comment something, then I'll upload the code. That's it. Okay, I'll post the source codes to the site.